This is Bilbao. This is the meeting point. And this is Round the Table. Broadcasting not only to Bilbao, but around the world. Hello, and in another packed programme today, we'll be talking about... What's the topic of the week, Usara?
Well, this week's topic is relationships.
Relationships. And we'll be looking at some interesting idiomatic expressions related to relationships, a few pronunciation problems that appeared during the week's conversations. We have quite a good list of phrasal verbs because there are quite a lot of phrasal verbs connected to relationships. And we'll be looking at an interesting word.
Very
but first,
good.
one of the things that we were talking about this week was the overuse of the word friend. What do you think about that, Usai? Do you think we use the word friend too loosely these days?
That's an interesting question. I guess we do use it a bit more these days.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, because we have more... Well, in the social media, in Facebook, for example, you have friends, don't you?
I've got lots of friends.
Have you?
Hundreds of friends.
Yeah, but are they your friends?
Not really, no. No.
But what are they? Are they contacts?
No, just contacts, yeah. Yeah, they're contacts. But we use the word friends for contacts when we're talking about, well, like Facebook, for example. Some people have hundreds of friends. But do you think those people really think they're friends?
Well, I don't know. I don't know what people think what a friend is. You know what I mean? Like, I don't...
Friend is a very vague term. It could be lots of different things, and we don't have a lot of vocabulary. You can say acquaintance for someone you just know, someone you say hello to, you know their face, you know their name, but you don't really have long conversations with them.
Yeah.
You say good morning and nice day today.
Yeah. Maybe someone from your neighborhood, for example.
Yeah, or somebody maybe you work with, but you don't really have a lot of contact in the work situation.
Yeah.
Maybe someone you see, in the local bar, but you don't really have conversations with them much, more than superficial conversations.
Yeah.
And then you have your friends. You have your best friend.
Yeah.
And your close friends. But there's not really sufficient vocabulary, is there, for all the different levels?
Yeah.
Because all your friends are different, really, aren't they?
Yeah, I was thinking about that just now. Yeah.
Because you don't have sometimes you might have a friend who's better for listening to problems. You know, some people are better at giving advice. Some friends you have a really good time socially.
Yeah.
You got your drinking buddies or something like that.
Yeah. I always thought that they are not really friends because I guess you can go out with anyone, can you? But maybe not.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, but if you socialise, you meet a friend in a bar and you think, oh, it's him. We're going to have a really good time because you know you always have a really good time with that friend.
Yeah.
But it might not necessarily be the one you would go to with a problem.
Yeah.
You might have another one for that sort of friendship. So, yeah. But I think the people that have 200 Facebook friends, I think they realise that they're not friends.
I hope so.
Yeah.
They'll be very disappointed if they thought they were real friends.
And we were also talking about finding friends and finding romance, finding relationships and things. Yeah. And if it's more difficult now than it was in the past.
Oh, that's difficult to answer, isn't it?
Because we got the social media.
Yeah.
But in a way, that's replaced normal social activities for some people.
Yeah.
But whether the internet is making us more, not introverted, isolated, even though we've opened up another world of contacts further away.
Yeah.
people kind of have less contact with the people nearby, maybe less contact with their neighbours than they did in the past, but more contact with someone in another country.
Yeah, but I don't know. For me, it's difficult to answer because I think it's another generation, the ones using these apps. And I don't know. To me, I think it's better to meet someone.
Yeah.
Or see someone and start talking. I've never used one of these apps, so I don't really know how it works. You know what I mean?
No, and it seems nobody does, because all of our people in the meeting point are quite old. Really.
Yeah.
There's only a couple of young people that had any information for us about how it works.
I know someone that has been using it, and in fact, she's got a partner now, and they met through this app. They've been together for a long time, so it works.
I think my niece met her partner on an app, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, and she's quite young. I was a bit surprised that young people are using them.
And I know a couple of people who met their boyfriends on the internet, not through apps, but through chat rooms and things like that.
Yeah.
So there are internet romances.
Yeah. Well, obviously it works.
But I think it just depends how you socialise.
Yeah.
If you socialise a lot through the internet, then that's how you meet people.
Yeah.
And if you go out to bars and clubs, you're going to meet a lot of people, aren't you?
Yeah.
If you stay at home and you don't have any contact, you might have trouble finding a partner. Which brings us on to other ways that people used to do it before these apps were invented. We used to have dating agencies.
Yeah.
There were dating agencies. I suppose they don't exist anymore. But it was the same principle, but on paper.
Yeah.
And you went to register at an agency and you gave them all your details of your preferences and hobbies and things like that.
Yeah.
And they tried to match you with someone else.
Yeah.
And you'd have to meet at the railway station under the clock, carrying a bunch of roses. Or whatever. That's what happens in the films anyway.
Yeah.
Don't know anything about it in real life. And then they had speed dating. Do you remember when speed dating was a big thing?
Oh, yeah.
And they'd arrange for all this room full of people. And
yeah, they've done it here recently. Maybe last year there was a speed dating thing.
Event,
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what you call it.
Yeah, and someone I know was gonna go, but he didn't at the end, so I don't know how it went. But I think I'll be rubbish at that.
Well, I don't know.
It's like an interview, isn't it?
That's another thing we were talking about, was if you instantly know if you're going to get along with someone. When you meet someone, sometimes you have a instant good feeling or bad feeling. But do you think that would be good enough for a speed dating thing, if you could sell yourself in 5 minutes?
I don't know.
Not sell yourself, obviously. It's not quite the phrase, is it? You know what I mean?
I think for men might be a bit more difficult because they are moving. Yeah, is them moving?
I think that what I've seen on TV is the women sit at the different tables, and the men rotate, and every 5 minutes someone rings a bell or something and you've got to move to the next person. And you've got 5 minutes to it's like the what's that, elevator pitch, where you've got 5 minutes to convince someone of something. I
don't know.
So you think women would be better at it, did you say, than
I think that maybe for it's more stressful for men, because for me there is them selling themselves to the women. I don't know why. Maybe that's another fashion way of thinking.
Well, I think generally men might be better at it
because they're more used to it.
Yeah, but if you look at things like when we've looked at things in the past about job opportunities and things like that, you normally find on CVs that men oversell themselves. and women understate what their capabilities are.
Yeah.
And women don't apply for a job unless they're really sure
Yeah.
that they can do the job, whereas
Yeah.
men will just say, I can do that, you know.
Yeah.
So maybe men generally have a little more confidence in these things. Maybe not when meeting women. Maybe their confidence disappears. I don't know. Yeah.
I think it depends. I don't think it's a gender problem. I think it depends on your personality.
Yeah. Because some people, I know some people that never seem to have had any relationships. It does happen. Some people go through life apparently not too concerned about it.
Yeah.
I think, some people don't seem to worry too much about. It's not important for everybody.
Yeah, and then if you are more self-confident as well, then you are gonna be
Because some people are always in a relationship. Some people can't be alone.
Yeah.
So they'll be in any relationship, no matter how bad it is.
Yeah.
They'd rather be in a bad relationship than in no relationship.
Yeah, and
I'd rather be single myself.
Yeah, but I think that might be another reason why it's more difficult these days. Because in the past, nobody got divorced, so people were always in a relationship. Whereas these days, most of the couple are broken.
Yeah. Well, people can get divorced. It's a lot easier these days, which is a well. Some people say it's a bad thing because they like tradition and they like things to be how it's always been. But
but if you're not happy,
I think it's better to get divorced. Well, it's better if people don't worry about marriage anyway.
Well, it has to be with someone because it's better for the two of you, because you need someone like that. No, makes you a better person just to be with someone else, but you can be on your own as well.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Anyway, then there was these the small ads that used to be in the newspaper. Now I don't know if these things exist. When I was younger, our local newspaper at home, there were pages and pages of small ads, they were called.
Yeah.
And you could buy and sell virtually anything. You could, being out in the country, there were lots of adverts for horses.
Opportunities. It was called, that section of the newspaper, I think it was called.
Oh, it might have been called Opportunities, yeah.
I don't know.
Well, we called it the small ads.
Okay.
And there were things for sale, so you could buy a horse, for example. At least in our local paper, you could buy there were lots of horses and chickens.
Yeah.
There were always chicken adverts and things like that. Because we come from the country, so people used to sell that kind of thing. Old furniture, all kinds of stuff was for sale. But there was another section called Lonely Hearts.
Yeah.
And there was a section of girl seeks boy, boy seeks girl.
Yeah.
Seek is that very interesting verb of to look for something. Seek. And sometimes boy seeks boy and girl seeks girl. All sorts of combinations. Anyway, they used to have this, because they had to pay to put the advert there was they tried to save money. So if there were expressions that were commonly used, they used abbreviated forms.
Yeah.
So you had things like GSOH.
Oh, what's that then?
Which means a good sense of humour. And of course everybody puts GSOH.
Of course.
Nobody would put BSOH, would they?
No.
But I suppose everybody thinks they've got a good sense of humour, don't they? It's one of those things. Like everyone's a better car driver than the average. WLTM means would like to meet. Because obviously these kind of phrases, if you're going to put it in the advert, it's going to cost money. You pay by the letter or by the word. I don't know how it works.
Yeah.
But they would abbreviate it as much as possible. And then they had certain terminology that could be open to interpretation. A bit like, was it last week we did Truth and Lies? Was it last week?
Yeah.
And we were discussing estate agent language.
Yeah.
You remember we played the game of estate agent English?
Yeah.
Well, I think we should play the game of Lonely Hearts English. So they have expressions like home-loving. Home-loving. How could you interpret home-loving?
Like unsociable?
Yeah. Home-loving. Yeah. I think that's...
Doesn't like going out or anything?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, probably watches television all the time or something like that.
Yeah.
Home loving. Yeah, so home loving, I don't like going out much or being sociable. What about young at heart?
Yeah, does that mean that he's not very young?
Yeah. It's the only young bit, the way they think. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it means
90 years old, but
90 years old, but young
Young
at heart. Yeah.
Yeah.
So young at heart means I'm actually quite old, or I'd like to be younger than I am. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's probably one of those really old men that wears teenage fashions.
Yeah.
Like that man I saw who was about 50 years old and he had his trousers really low, showing
Yeah.
his pants like a teenager.
Yeah.
There's down to earth is another one.
That's someone, I don't know, like very pragmatic, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah. Very practical and lacking sophistication, maybe. Or maybe lacking culture. Maybe that means don't take me to art galleries and don't take me to the opera.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like basic things. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
And free spirit.
Oh.
Free spirit. That sounds lovely, doesn't it?
Well, for the person who is like that, maybe.
Yeah. For them, it's
Can you
great.
trust them?
Probably not, no. Free spirit, yes. They probably wouldn't arrive at the first date.
Yeah.
Or they'd be 2 hours late or something like that. Oh, I'm a free spirit. I always arrive late.
Yeah.
Yeah, so unreliable, that's what free spirit probably means. And laid back. What about laid back?
Laid back, yeah. Well, that'd be like easygoing.
Yeah.
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 Or maybe.
Or lazy, probably lazy. Laid back, yeah. Couch potato.
Couch
maybe.
potato.
That's a good phrase, couch potato.
Yeah.
So that's what laid back probably means. So yeah, there's a whole world of interesting phrases that they
Yeah.
use.
Very good. I wonder if they still use these phrases on the apps and things like that. I
Well,
guess they do,
I don't. Yeah, I suppose they. Well, it's another way of selling things, isn't it? A bit like the estate
Yeah.
agent thing, where you try
Yeah.
to make things positive.
Yeah.
It's what you call putting a spin on something. That was a phrase that came from political circles back in the days of Tony Blair. They had the spin doctors, the ones that took a political story, and made it sound positive. And so putting a spin on all this kind of thing, like the estate agent language, is not telling a lie.
Yeah.
It's telling the truth, but making it sound better than it really is.
Yeah. Very good.
Anyway, another thing we were talking about this week under this heading of relationships, we were talking about St. Valentine's Day.
Oh, well.
Yeah. What
I
do you think? What do you think the majority of people would have said about it this week? What do you think the general opinion might be?
Well, I think people think it's just a commercialized
Yeah.
thing, yeah? People trying to sell more products.
Yeah.
Some
Yeah.
excuse.
They see it the same as Halloween and Mother's Day and things like that. Yeah, it's all merchandise, isn't it? Merchandising.
Bit false though. I think if you only gave me something on this day, I feel a bit like it's compulsory almost, and
Yeah.
to me it'll be like
Yeah,
meaningless.
it's totally false. Yeah, because when I worked in the factory in my town, and the guys that I worked with, usually one of them would remember that it was Valentine's Day, and all the others would go into panic, going, "Oh my God, I forgot Valentine's Day again. Oh, last year she didn't speak to me for a week," and things like that.
Really?
Yeah, and they'd stop at the petrol station on the way home, yeah? Because petrol stations in England sell flowers, but only on Valentine's Day.
How sad is that?
I know, it's incredibly sad, isn't it? But surely, if flowers, because petrol stations, they smell of petrol, don't they?
Yeah.
And if you have flowers that have been sitting outside a petrol station all day, surely they smell of petrol stations.
Yeah.
And your wife's going to know that, you're buying flowers on the way home at the last minute. It's not like, I don't know, I think it's terrible. I think if you can't be a good partner for the rest of the year, then you shouldn't be a partner.
Yeah.
You should find someone else. I mean, your partner could be a complete idiot for the whole year, and as long as he buys chocolate on one day a year, he's a good husband or something.
Yeah.
Seems ridiculous. And also another thing is, it always seems to be men have to buy something for women, or at least that's where the emphasis seems to be. Maybe it's not.
I don't know.
But anyway, that is St. Valentine's Day. And we'll come back to St. Valentine's Day in a moment.
Yeah.
But first, we're going to look at some idiomatic expressions. One idiomatic expression is to get on like a house on fire.
To be honest, that sounds really negative.
That's what everybody thinks. Everyone thinks it's something to do with having arguments.
Yeah.
But no, it's really good. So you got the phrasal verb at the beginning, get on.
Yeah.
Get on. We'll come back to the phrasal verbs later. But get on is the phrasal verb, meaning to have a good relationship. To get on like a house on fire is have a really good time. You have a lot of laughs, you spend time, you tell stories, and you have a good old time together.
Yeah.
You get on like a house on fire. It's really positive. It just sounds really negative.
Well, house on fire is like...
Yeah, it's
not the best.
not the best thing, no. Unless that phrase was invented by insurance people or out-of-work firemen or something like that.
Yeah.
But generally, a house on fire is not good. But to get on like a house on fire means we have a great time together.
Very good.
The next one, which is also a bit strange, fall head over heels in love. Now, this is two phrases that are joined together, really, because you fall in love.
Yeah.
I don't know why we always fall in love. Sounds like an accident, doesn't it?
Yeah.
As who was it? Stephen Fry once said, "I've never fallen in love, but I've stepped in it a few times." Disgusting thought, isn't it? Anyway, then you fall head over heels. So if you had an accident, if you fell down the stairs, for example,
Yeah.
they would say he fell head over heels.
Yeah.
And heels, well, is the back part of your foot.
Yeah.
Right, you have a heel on a shoe, but you also have a heel on your foot,
Yeah.
even without shoes. And if you think about it, your head is over your heels always when you're standing up.
Should be, yeah.
So when you fall over, it should be heels over head would be more logical. So this is another very illogical phrase. But the phrase is fall head over heels in love. We can't argue with the phrase. That's the way it is.
Okay. Very good.
And another phrase, another idiomatic expression, this has nothing to do with romance or relationships at all, but I thought of it on Monday. There's an expression to be full of beans.
Yeah.
And full of beans means very lively.
Yeah.
Like, oh, the children are full of beans today. They're very excited to be going on holiday or something. They're full of beans. And it's very lively and excited. And I ate a big plate of beans on Monday. And I thought, I'm not full of beans after...
Well, you were full of beans.
When I'm literally full of beans, I'm not metaphorically full of beans. I don't think I have a lot of energy if I'm full of beans. I tend to have a nice long siesta afterwards. But anyway, that's an interesting idiomatic expression. To be full of beans means lively and energetic. Okay, let's move on to some pronunciation problems. So, the first pronunciation problem that everyone this week has been having is saying Valentine.
Valentine.
With a V at the beginning. Valentine's Day. It's not Ballantine. Everyone pronounces the V as a B here.
Yeah.
It's very difficult to go Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
So it's like the F, but it's voiced. So you add the vibration to the F and you get V. And that's a sound that everyone needs to practice. So then they can say Valentine's Day instead of Ballantines Day. Because Ballantine is a type of whiskey. Which maybe they have a Ballantines Day as well, I don't know. And there's also van and ban. Van, V-A-N, a type of transport.
Yeah.
And ban is a prohibition, like a smoking ban, when you're not allowed to smoke in the bars. So the difference between the V and the B is important, and I recommend that everyone practice that one. Another pronunciation problem that came up this week is the difference between the S sound and the sh sound. Because somebody was talking about a friend who shaved his head. Okay.
Yeah.
Cut his hair very short.
Yeah.
He shaved his head. But he didn't say that. He said, my friend saved his head.
Yeah.
Saved.
Where?
Yeah, where do you save your head? And I was thinking of Walt Disney. Didn't Walt Disney save his head?
Yeah.
Is it cryogenics when you freeze things for later?
Maybe something like
I
that.
think it might be an urban myth. I don't think he did save his head, but that's what they say, that somewhere in California there's a deep freeze with Walt Disney's head in it, but I find that hard to believe. Anyway, so there's a difference between I shaved my head and I saved my head. Another similar one that I heard this week was shower and sour.
Oh, I used to make that mistake.
Yeah, it's very common. People say, I had a sour this morning.
Yeah,
And I say, no, sour is when you suck a lemon, for example. The taste of lemons, they're sour.
Yeah.
And shower with a sh at the beginning is what you had this morning. And another one was sock and shock.
Oh, yeah.
If you say, I had a terrible sock, I had a terrible sock means your feet smell.
Yeah.
Shock is the word. I had a terrible shock.
Important pronunciation, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah.
Pronunciation is the most important, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to phrasal verbs. And as I said earlier, there are quite a lot of phrasal verbs connected to relationships. So we've already looked at get on, which is to have a good relationship. Get along with along is the same thing.
Okay.
We get on, we get along. Some people say it one way, some people say it the other.
So you don't need to say I get on well. If you say get on, is understood that is well.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's often seen with well, and people think well is part of the phrasal verb, but it's not. It's just an adverb that's added in.
Okay.
It's usually there, but it doesn't have to be. No, we get on well.
Okay.
And with as well. You can add the with. If you say John gets on with Fred, or you can say John and Fred get on.
Yeah.
You only need with when you're introducing the
person.
second character. Yeah.
Okay.
So get on, get along are the same thing. Fall for, very much like falling head over heels in love.
Yeah.
So you can fall for someone at first sight. It means fall in love, to fall for someone. Then you can ask someone out.
Oh, yeah.
Ask out, which means...
Do you want to go out with me?
Yeah. So to go out and ask out come from the same thing.
Yeah.
So you can ask someone out, says, would you come to the cinema? I don't know if young people do that these days, but the back row of the cinema probably isn't what it used to be. So you ask someone out, will you be my date? Yeah. And then you can go out on a date. Or you can be going out with someone. If there's boyfriend and girlfriend, they're going out together.
Yeah.
In the old days, they were walking out, if you listen to things from the 1950s or something. Yeah.
Walking out sounds more like escape to me, like running away.
Yeah. But we used to go out with somebody.
Yeah.
Again, you can use with at the end of that one. He's going out with her, they are going out.
Yeah.
Fall out means to have an argument.
Yeah.
Have a disagreement. When you stop being friends, you fall out.
Yeah.
But then, if you become friends again and you sort of apologise, that's make up. That's another make up.
Oh, yeah.
There's lots of make up phrasal verbs, aren't there?
There is, yeah.
But that's another one. When you've had a disagreement and then you come back together and say, sorry, we were silly, let's be friends again. That's to make up. Break up is the same as split up, and that's when you separate in a relationship.
Yeah.
Okay. You hear it a lot in the news when Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie have split up.
Yeah.
Am I out of date? Is it? I feel I'm a bit behind the times with that one. And you can also use it for bands. You can talk about when the Beatles broke up in 1970.
Okay. Yeah.
And then you can have the good one this week was settle down. So settle down is normally when you become sensible, you get into a relationship, you get married, you get a mortgage, you get your job, you start thinking about children, and you become very sensible and mature.
Okay.
And you stop your wild teenage behaviour.
Yeah.
And you become a bit more adult.
Stop being a free spirit.
Yeah, you stop being a free spirit. That's it. Yeah.
Okay.
Which brings us on to the interesting word.
Yeah. So what's the word this week then?
So the interesting word this week is settle.
Oh.
From settle down, because it reminded me that it's actually quite interesting. So settle literally means something like to stop moving. Now, how I can explain this is if you took a glass of water from the river in Bilbao, the mighty Nerbion, you would have a glass of very brown water. Very brown this week. The river's very brown. But if you left that glass overnight, in the morning, all the brown particles would settle to the bottom. The top of the water would be clear, and the bottom would have like mud, be very dirty, yeah? So that's all the particles settling down. So when the river is in movement all the time, those particles never have the opportunity to settle because the river's constantly moving.
Yeah.
But then they settle to the bottom. So that is what settle means. And we often use it when people go to another country, especially in the old days. If it was Europeans went to America, for example, they were settlers.
Okay.
They would be travelling and then they would stop. They stop travelling and they decide to live somewhere. They would settle. So we call them settlers. And quite often if you read history book, archaeology books, things like that, they talk about settlements. And a settlement is like a little village.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And it's where people stop travelling. Because originally we were hunter-gathering people and we wander around all over the place.
Yeah.
So then to settle down means to stop being so active. When you're a teenager, you're kind of crazy and you're out partying with your friends and you can do whatever you want to do. You've got no rules. Yeah, well, very few. So you stop being so active or so irresponsible. You can also hear this in a classroom. When the teacher comes into the classroom, and all the children are being crazy, because there's no teacher, and they're standing on the tables, throwing books at each other, fighting, putting someone's head in the waste paper basket. And the teacher comes in and says, "Settle down, everybody, settle down." Right? So stop being so crazy and active.
Yeah.
Then you can also settle an argument or settle a dispute. Okay. So it's when the argument is very active and then it calms down. It's phrasal verb again.
Yeah.
And it becomes more even and flat. So you settle a dispute. You can also settle a bill if something needs to be paid.
Okay.
If someone comes to do work on your house or they paint your house and they give you the bill, after a few weeks they might be coming around to your house, knocking on the door. Okay, come on, you have to settle the bill.
Okay.
I need the money.
I see.
So you settle the bill. And there's also another settlement here, an out-of-court settlement. Now, sometimes it happens with famous people. I think it happened with Michael Jackson. I apologise if anyone knows him personally, and this is not true, but I think it's true, that there were certain allegations made. Young people said things about things Michael Jackson had done,
Yeah.
and he didn't want to go through the court
Yeah.
and do it all in front of the judge and in front of all the publicity and newspapers. So he just gave them some money.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
He said,
yeah.
here's 10 million, shut up,
Yeah,
basically.
yeah.
And that's called an out-of-court settlement.
Ah, okay, yeah.
So you agree
It's
on
like an agreement then, yeah?
Yeah, you agree on a price, but
Yeah.
without going through the legal procedures.
Yeah.
I think Michael Jackson did that, yeah.
I have no
Yeah.
idea.
Maybe Prince Andrew did it as well.
Well,
Not
I
sure.
have no evidence.
We don't know. I hope this is not too slanderous. We might get closed down. But we don't know, really. But those kind of people who get into trouble with allegations, quite often they give someone some money to stop complaining. Maybe Trump as well.
Well, I've seen it in films
Yeah.
more than anything.
I think it
really.
happens quite a lot.
I guess with famous people, because they don't want to go public.
Yeah. They just don't want all the publicity of going through the court procedure. Yeah. So that's settled then. That's another expression. It means we've come to the end, or we've made the decision, sort of thing.
Very good.
So that's settled then. Right, okay, and I think that's all we have time for in today's programme. A very interesting discussion on relationships. Thank you very much, Usoa.
Yeah, thank you.
Next week we're discussing noise.
Oh,
It's going to be an interesting one, all
Yeah.
about noisy people and noisy
Yeah.
neighbours, and if we need a bit of silence occasionally.
Oh, we do.
Why those old men always take radios when they go up the mountain? Like, why do they do that? It's a very strange thing. Okay, I forgot to say, we should say this every time. Don't forget to like and subscribe and leave a comment down below.
And share.
And yeah, share. That's the most important
Share.
one. Share. Yeah, share. Don't forget to share it with your friends, especially if you live in Bilbao or anywhere else in the world. We don't mind, but make sure you share it with your friends and make it popular. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. I'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.